तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गणन्ति भूरिदा जना. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're in the chapter, The Master's Birthday, and this began on page 691. The date is Sunday, February 22nd, 1885, and now we're up to the top of page 697. So they had spent the whole day with Sri Ramakrishna, and now it's evening. So we'll start here. It was about dusk. Many of the devotees saluted Sri Ramakrishna and started to go home. The master went to the west porch. Bhavanath and M were with him. Master to Bhavanath, why do you come here so seldom? Bhavanath smiling, sir, I visit you once in a fortnight. I saw you in the street the other day, so I didn't come here. Master, what do you mean? What can you gain by mere seeing? Touch and talk are also necessary. The case of Bhavanath is one of the mysteries of this Ramakrishna Leela. He was so close to Sri Ramakrishna. He and Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, were very close friends. They used to come together. Thakur used to look upon them as of the same spiritual, I won't say stature, same spiritual mood, and encourage them. He would very often find devotees that matched each other, their spiritual mood. It was helpful for them to keep company. This is, of course, after, I think by now, Bhavanath is married. So now he has his duties and everything, so it's not so easy to come. But he drifted away. In the beginning, he was considered to be on equal level with the other monastic disciples. We see him mentioned as Nitya Siddha, along with the other group. Even in their early days, it seems that Thakur designated him as an Ishvarakoti. And later we find that now Purna, it takes that place. It's the sixth of them. And during Sri Ramakrishna's illness, he started to come just a little bit infrequently. And Sri Ramakrishna, and they all kind of noticed that he had just, for some reason, lost that tremendous drive that they all had to spend time with Sri Ramakrishna. Now, after Sri Ramakrishna passed away, he remained very close. He was very helpful. I think he helped find the Paranugamad. Yeah. And remained friendly with Narendra and the others. So it's not like he completely drifted away, but there was probably in Sri Ramakrishna's mind that he'll also become one of the monastic disciples. Yeah. So this just goes to show that even Thakur is not perfect in evaluating everyone. So this case of Bhavanath is something a little bit difficult to quite understand, because Sri Ramakrishna, he loved him so much. But I must say, he did remain friendly and helpful. I think also helped support to some extent the Bharanagamat. I don't know how long he lived or anything. I don't remember. Do you remember? Huh? He didn't live that long. Well, let me just take a quick look. Yeah, many of those who were close to Sri Ramakrishna after he passed away did not live that long. 96, he passed away. Yeah. So he was only 33 years old when he passed away. The evening worship had begun in the temples. It was the 8th day of the bright fortnight of the moon. The temple domes, the courtyard, the gardens, and the trees were shining in the moonlight. The Ganges was flowing north with a murmuring sound. Sri Ramakrishna sat on the small couch in his room, absorbed in contemplation of the Divine Mother. The evening worship was over. One or two devotees were still in the temple garden. Narendra had left. Sri Ramakrishna was pacing the veranda northeast of his room. M stood there looking at him. Suddenly, he said to M, "Ah, how sweet Narendra's music is." M, "Yes, sir." That song beginning with "In Dense Darkness" is particularly beautiful. We saw last week that Narendra actually sang that twice uh, through the day. And it always had the effect on Sri Ramakrishna of throwing him into that state of samadhi. In dense darkness, mother, thy formless beauty sparkles. Master, you were right. That song has a deep meaning. A part of my mind is still drawn to it. Yes, sir. Master, meditation in darkness is prescribed in the Tantra. Now, we had a long conversation about this on the Tuesday morning class. So what do we mean by the Tantra? It's confusing because it's a body of literature, scripture, we can say, and it also is closely connected with worship of the Divine Mother, and they have their own different uh, texts, scriptures, and things, uh, and a lot of what we call tantric practices, the Vamachara and things. This entered into it at some point. These practices spanned the uh, area of the Vaishnava tradition, the Shakta tradition, Sufi tradition, and everything, Buddhist tradition, of course. Uh, but this idea, meditation in darkness, described in the Tantra, Sri Ramakrishna is saying, this will be probably this mostly worship of Mother. So the Shakta tradition and this what we call the Tantric tradition are very closely, almost identical, we can say. Girish Ghosh came and stood by Sri Ramakrishna, who had started to sing. Is Kali, my mother, really black? The naked one of the blackest hue lights the lotus of the heart. Yeah, this is a very special song. This is Kamalakanta. Uh, was second only to Ramprasad, and on some level was his really equal as a composer and everything. We know a little bit more about Ramprasad as a spiritual kind of saintly type of person, but it's Kamala Kante. His songs were equally beautiful, and this that happens to be the song that Swamiji was heard singing on the last day of his life when he left the shrine early that morning. It's a very beautiful song. Sri Ramakrishna was filled with divine fervor. Standing with one arm resting on Girish's body, he sang, "Why should I go to Ganga or Gaya, to Kashi, Kanchi, or Prabhas, so long as I can breathe my last with Kali's name upon my lips? What need of rituals has a man? What need of devotion anymore if he repeats the mother's name at the 3 holy hours? Rituals may pursue him close, but never can they overtake him." We're only getting the beginning of these songs. Sri Ramakrishna would have sung the whole song. This is very typical of many of the songs of Ramprasad, though this one is attributed to someone named Madan. I don't know who he was. He would have been another uh, composer from that same type of school. And the same thing. Interesting because many of the things that we see in the songs of Ramprasad were incidents in his life. And something happened when Ramprasad was about to go on pilgrimage to Kashi, Varanasi. And he had some vision that Divine Mother said something like that. Why go pilgrimage there? That worship me, wherever you are. And because of that, he established a little shrine with the image of Mother Kali and everything. So, Gore Boshi Puja Kori. There's different songs there. So just sitting in my room, or Yatraka, I go on pilgrimage, just sitting in my room. It's a similar thing to Rani Rashmani, when she also had the vision, where are you going to establish my image? Right here on the banks of the Ganga, the Dakshineswar area, that you can build your temple there. So even though it's not a Ramprasad song, but we find other songs with this same theme. Now, pilgrimage. Sri Ramakrishna did not emphasize pilgrimage to a great extent for one very, very special reason, that he knew that it would be most beneficial for his very close disciples to spend as much time as possible with him. It wasn't that he thought that it was a waste of time to go on pilgrimage, but somehow he knew that he himself was the greatest pilgrimage. No trace of ego or anything like that. But that seems to be the main reason why he didn't encourage it too much. And a few who went, they would come back and say, no, we didn't find anything anywhere. Everything that there's to be found is to be found here. Yeah, meaning with Sri Ramakrishna. But for us, pilgrimage is a very important element in spiritual practice. I feel that it gives great inspiration. The places of pilgrimage will depend upon one's spiritual tradition and one's spiritual attitude. There'll be some that they'll want to go to Vrindavan, they'll want to go to Puri, the Vaishnava traditions and things. There'll be others who want to go to Himalayas. We have our Jar Dhams, these important places in Himalayas, and then the different corners of India. For devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, we also have a Char Dham. Swami Paramahansa, he wrote a series of songs, poems, and with different songs that were one dedicated to Kamarpukur, one to Janambati, one to Balamat, and one to Dakshineswar. And he entitled it Char Dham, his four holy places. So, yeah, for devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, to go to Dakshineswar, to go to the Kamarpukur, Janambati, Holy Mother, Balamat, these are the most sacred places. We may also find for some Rameshwaram, for some Kashi, these are sacred places, but for devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, these are the places that I think can give the most inspiration. Now, especially Dakshineswar, very sadly, and now I hear that it's not possible to enter into his room anymore. That you can only see from the outside. In the early days, you could go and sit in his room, and how inspiring it was to know you're sitting on the ground in front of his cot, where he must have gone into samadhi hundreds of times, and would be singing and dancing, and people would be surrounding him, maybe sitting in the exact place where Narendra used to sit, where Rakal used to sit. You're sitting on the floor exactly where Rakal would sit on the lap of Sri Ramakrishna. So to be able to go to a place like that, sit there, remember everything, that brings tremendous inspiration. So I personally feel that we have a companion. One is this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and the companion to that is a visit to the actual place, to Dakshineswar. Of course, Kashipur, the Champukur, all of the places, Kamarpukur, but something special, especially because of this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, because we know so much of what took place in every corner of his room, and the Panchavati, under the bell tree. It's all recorded, it's all there. And if we go to those places, then when we read, we can picture it. When we sit for meditation, we can imagine it. The greatest proponent of that was M himself. That if anybody went to him and said that they were devotees, they read the Gospels. Many went to him in the early days before they would go to Bellarmine. Some of those who became great Swamis of the order, they went specially to Kolkata to meet him because they had read his Gautamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And M would invariably say, "Have you been to Dakshineswar?" And if they had never been there, he would say, "Let's go." And they would go together. Later, he would say, "You go and tell me, come back and report." And then he would tell them that don't go as a tourist, that don't go just to sit with your eyes closed, that go and observe every corner of the room, look at where the pictures are hanging, look at where there's a big cistern of water, the jala, the Ganges water is, and know that right next to that is where Thakur worshipped Holy Mother and Shodasha Puja Day. Remember all of these, etch them into your mind. So when you sit for meditation, you can bring these things back. That's what M did. He could do it with Thakur's words, of course. Yeah. So from that point of view, this pilgrimage is very, very helpful, especially, as I say, Dakshineswar, because then we can imagine everything. I was very fortunate. I went there to Dakshineswar before I read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So the very first time that I read Sri Ramakrishna is facing north, I could picture it. I knew what it meant. I knew what he was seeing when he was facing north. I knew where the doors were and everything was. We can read about it, but it's different if we go there. So, as much as Sri Ramakrishna will downplay his pilgrimage, there was a different reason for it. The reason was that he knew that he wouldn't live forever. His time was limited. That the disciples would cherish every moment, would miss the opportunity to be with him when they left. Uh, so that was the reason. But other than that, it's very, very helpful from time to time, and just to get some extra inspiration. For us, going to Bellarmine also, that every inch of ground there was walked on by the direct disciples, and they used to be able to see Sri Ramakrishna himself walking there. And Thakur actually went there before the land was purchased. That he used to go to the Shiva temple on just north of there, and it was just an open field. And we read that he walked around that field, on one of those occasions. So he actually did go there, and so yes, we should go. They say recharge the batteries and get some special inspiration when we go to these holy places. So Sri Ramakrishna sings this song, and then again he sings, "Once for all, this time I have thoroughly understood from one who knows it well." There's a footnote. This is God whom the poet worshipped as the Divine Mother. "I've learned the secret of bhava." Now, this bhava, this is a term that uh, is almost impossible to translate into English. It has such a richness of it. This bhava is some ecstatic type of mood, some feeling of love, some special, particular type of attitude, spiritual attitude. Uh, all of these things combined. There's a bhava, when the mind will enter into a different realm according to the mood of the devotee. So for Sri Ramakrishna, very often the bhava would be inspired by these songs of the Divine Mother. It could be songs of Krishna, it could be anything. They enter into this ecstatic type of mood, or else if it's not ecstatic, a very deep type of deep feeling of emotional feeling of oneness with the divine. So this bhava. So once for all, this time I've thoroughly understood. From one who knows it well, I've learnt the secret of bhava. A man has come to me from a country where there is no night. So this will be some of the illumination. No night means no darkness, no ignorance. And now I cannot distinguish day from night any longer. This is what used to happen with Ramakrishna. He would come out of that ecstatic state and he'd see that it's just this twilight, would not know if it's dusk or dawn. His mind would be so uh, immersed in that mood. Rituals and devotions have all grown profitless for me. So this is that idea Thakur talked about so many times, that once this bhava comes, anuraga, this love, and then it's not necessary to perform any ritualistic types of devotions. This song continues. My sleep is broken. How can I slumber anymore? For now I'm wide awake in the sleeplessness of yoga. O Divine Mother, made one with thee in yoga sleep. This means samadhi, according to the footnote. In yoga sleep at last, my slumber I've lulled asleep forevermore. This is another one of the beautiful songs of Ramprasad. I bow my head, says Prasad, before desire and liberation. Knowing the secret that Kali is one with the highest Brahman, I've discarded once for all both righteousness and sin. Yeah, the role that Ramprasad played in this lila of Sri Ramakrishna is very, very important. That he was the paradigm, the ideal, the inspiration for Sri Ramakrishna. That Sri Ramakrishna considered him to be the ideal worshiper of the Divine Mother and to be a realized soul, a very saintly figure. So his early prayer was always, "Oh Mother, you revealed yourself to Ramprasad. Why won't you reveal yourself to me?" So the life of Ramprasad was very important. He was a kind of precursor, you can almost say, of Sri Ramakrishna. There's a very nice film that was made, I think, back in the 30s, black and white film on the life of Ramprasad. It is very, very, very nicely done. How he came to compose all of his songs, and his life was similar to Sri Ramakrishna's. That his father died when he was a young man. He had to go into the big city, Kolkata. He was from a town of Halishore, and there had to take a job and worked in an office where he had to keep accounts and things. And the whole time he's supposed to be working, he's writing the name of Durga or composing songs in the ledger. And his co-workers were not very happy with him, that he wasn't taking bribes and he wasn't doing things that they were doing. So they were very happy to be able to snitch on him and go to his boss and say, "Look what your Ramprasad is doing. He's supposed to be working. He's writing these songs." And his employer, it turned out, was a very spiritual soul. He read these songs and he said, "But Ramprasad, what are you doing working in an office? You should spend your whole time composing songs like this. You go back home, I'll give you the same salary I'm giving you now without doing any work." So that was how he was able to do it. And then later, some local Maharaja, not some big one, but some from that area, heard him singing some songs and also gave him some big stipend. And so he didn't have to work. After that, could spend all of his time just worshiping Mother and composing his songs. As Ramakrishna looked at Girish, his ecstatic fervor became more intense. He sang, "I have surrendered my soul at the fearless feet of the Mother." See, all songs to the Divine Mother. Once he gets into that mood, and especially at twilight, and when it's dusk, when it's starting to get dark outside, he gets into that mood. "I've surrendered my soul at the fearless feet of the Mother. Am I afraid of death anymore? Unto the tuft of hair on my head is tied the almighty mantra, Mother Kali's name. My body I've sold in the marketplace of the world, and with it have bought Sri Durga's name." My body I've sold in the marketplace of the world. That means I've renounced everything, that I don't claim anything as my own. Everything is for Mother. Intoxicated with God, Sri Ramakrishna repeated the lines, "My body I've sold in the marketplace of the world, and with it I've bought Sri Durga's name. Looking at Girish and M, he said, divine fervor fills my body and robs me of consciousness. This is one of the lines from the song. Here, consciousness means consciousness of the outer world. One needs the knowledge of reality and Brahman. So this divine fervor fills my body, robs me of ordinary consciousness. So for Sri Ramakrishna, this means he goes into some ecstatic state, some type of a samadhi state or bhava samadhi or something like that, where he's not aware of anything from the outside world. Bhakti, love of God, is the one essential thing. Bhakti Ishar. Thakur used to say this over and over again. Not that he was opposed to any other spiritual path, and not that he would force everybody into following the same type of spiritual practice, but he felt that this was the easiest, this was the most straightforward, the most natural spiritual path. He used to say shoja, shahoj. This is a very simple, natural spiritual path, especially in this Kali Yuga, and especially because the feeling of identification with his body and with his mind and lower self is so strong and so difficult to break that there's no reason not to utilize that feeling and have a relationship with God and follow this path of devotion. And emotions are so much stronger than power to think. If we really feel that love, then that's a much stronger power of connection, magnetic power, than any other type of reasoning or the rational type of thinking. So all of these reasons that Sri Ramakrishna, he emphasized bhakti, but not the dualistic type of bhakti that was common in many other spiritual traditions. His bhakti was not at all opposed to jnana. And we'll see that. He'll be talking about how through bhakti one realizes one's oneness with the Brahman. Generally, the teachers of bhakti belong to more dualistic types of traditions, not exclusively, of course, but that was the general feeling that if one is a follower of the bhakti marga, that one is a dualist. The practices will be dualistic, but for Sri Ramakrishna, this was the path that one followed to reach the heights of oneness also, this devotional path. So he says, bhakti, love of God, is the only essential thing. One kind of bhakti has a motive behind it. Again, there is motiveless love, pure devotion, a love of God that seeks no return. So this Shuddha Bhakti and Ahetuki Bhakti, that this Shuddha Bhakti, sometimes we think, when Thakur is talking about this pure devotion, that it means that there's no hint or tinge of any jnana yoga or karma yoga or anything like that. Sometimes he'll talk in those terms, that the real devotee doesn't care to reason or anything like that. But more often, he'll say, you want to love God, you have to know. You have to know. So can you love someone without knowing them? So he liked this kind of combination. So when he talks about this pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, usually it means this motiveless devotion. That means no selfishness behind it, not praying for any selfish gain in any particular way. This is taken to different extremes. For many in these highly devotional traditions, it means not even praying for God realization or the vision of God or anything. Highest prayer for the bhakta is for bhakti. This is one of the teachings that we find in the Bhakti Sutras, Narada Bhakti Sutras, and the Sri Ramakrishna. He quotes many songs like that. Even to pray for mukti is a much lower thing than to pray for love of God. The Vaishnava tradition, they call this the Panchama Purushartha or Parama Purushartha, the fifth of the four aims of life and the highest aim of life. This is prema, the love of God itself. Now, people always ask, can we not pray for things? Now, Again, it depends on our spiritual attitude. There's a conversation at the end of the gospel with a Dr. Sharkar. Now, the Dr. Sharkar, he's a bit of a buffoon. Every once in a while, he'll say something that'll make a lot of sense and that Thakur will like. And this conversation is going on about praying to Mother for practical things or things of enjoyment or for help. And Sri Ramakrishna, he's saying pray only for pure love and devotion. So then this Dr. Sharkar, he says, but we lie on the lap of Mother. We can ask anything of her. And Thakur is very charmed with that answer. So if we have that attitude, God is our very own. God is like a small child. Is there anything that the child won't ask of the mother? If we have that type of attitude, then it's a little bit different. But if all we're asking for is can I get a big house? Can I get a big car? Can I get a promotion for the job? Then Thakur considers this to be very low type of attitude. That the real attitude is, oh mother, may I have pure love and devotion for you. For him, this is a hetuki bhakti. So this is what he says, is motiveless love, pure devotion, a love of God that seeks no return. Keshav Sen and the members of the Brahmo Samaj didn't know about motiveless love. This was one of the gifts that he gave to them. And also the worship of God as mother. In this love, there's no desire. It is nothing but pure love of the lotus feet of God. There's another kind of love known as urjita bhakti, an ecstatic love of God that overflows, as it were. When it is awakened, the devotee laughs and weeps and dances and sings. These are also quotes from different songs. Chaitanya Deva is an example of this love. Rama said to Lakshmana, brother, if anywhere you see the manifestation of urjita bhakti, know for certain that I am there. Girish, everything is possible through your grace. What was I before, and see what I am now. Yeah, we all know the type of life that Girish led. It wasn't entirely his fault. He had a little bit of a rough childhood. I think mother died very young, and anyhow, he was in the theater, so he was always with mixing with questionable people and everything, but and drinking to excess and carousing, staying up all night long, all sorts of things. And he used to say he was Thakur's greatest miracle, how to touch us, Ramakrishna, how he gave up all these bad habits, and how he became such a sincere devotee and had such tremendous faith in Sri Ramakrishna. His faith in Sri Ramakrishna was legendary. So he himself recognized how everything changed for him after meeting Sri Ramakrishna. Girish, everything is possible through your grace. What was I before, and see what I am now. Master, you had latent tendencies, so they are manifesting themselves now. Now, this is another thing that when we see Sri Ramakrishna touching somebody, that how much is he awakening some latent potential for spiritual experience within them, and how much is he giving them, transferring to them? There's always a question that comes into the mind that could he have done this with anybody? There's somebody on the street, he comes up to him and puts his hand on his chest, and that person will have some ecstatic experience. We don't know. Perhaps he could have. Perhaps he knew it wouldn't be helpful. Perhaps he would only do it if he saw that there was some stuff in them. So it's very difficult to answer this type of question, but he's partly saying this. You'll see the answer. You had latent tendency, partly saying this, because now he's in that mood of we can say humility, where he said, I'm nobody's guru, that I'm nobody, I'm nothing, I'm the dust of your feet. He doesn't want to take the credit for all of this. But we know that all of the disciples that Sri Ramakrishna had were not of the ordinary run-of-the-mill of people. We know that. If we look at the direct disciples, that the potential that they had, the latent spirituality that they had, only needed to be awakened. I think the best case is with Holy Mother. The Shodasha Puja time, he worshipped her as the Divine Mother, as a girl of 16 years of age. Now, some people will say that because at the end he said, I offer everything to you, to Holy Mother. All the results of my spiritual practice, my japamala, he put laid at her feet, everything I give to you. Some people will think he transferred his power to a Holy Mother. Now, I think it makes more sense to say that he awakened that that divinity within the Holy Mother, and that presence of the Divine Mother with her, that the fact that she was the greatest manifestation of the Divine Mother, that he awakened that within her. That it's not that he could have done it with anybody. He could have given anybody some type of experience, but for Holy Mother, she needed that. She needed something to awaken that, so that she could recognize her own real nature. So I think it was the same with all of the direct disciples, that Thakur's role was to awaken something. Now with Swamiji, we read Thakur said, "I transferred all of my spiritual power to you." And that'll be something a little bit different, of course. That even Thakur said, "You want these siddhis? I can give you these siddhis." He had the power to transfer these things. So Narendra said, "Will they help me realize God?" He said, "No, but they may be helpful in your spiritual mission after this." He said, "No, I don't want those things then." And Thakur was happy, probably testing him also. So here he's telling Girish that don't think it was just that I did everything, that you had this within you. You had some good samskaras and some bad samskaras. These bad samskaras were running riot. Good samskaras were waiting to be awakened. So Thakur says, you had latent tendencies, so they are manifesting themselves now. Nothing happens except at the proper time. Take the case of a patient. Nature has almost cured him when the physician prescribes a herb and asked him to drink its juice. Yeah, now Sri Ramakrishna also, very often he would wait. He would know if the time is right or the time is not right. And he had his own way of doing things. He would never forbid Girish to drink. He would say, but at least try to be a little bit sensible about it. Take the name of the Divine Mother. He told this to others also before you drink. He had several drunkards, we could almost say, among his devotees, that through the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, they were able to give that up. So with Girish, it happened just at the right time for him. That when he first met, actually the first time he met Sri Ramakrishna, he thought, who is this crazy man? And putting on a show, Thakur came down from Samadhi, and he's saying, is it day or is it night? And he's saying, what is this? Who's going to believe somebody goes into some state, comes down, doesn't know if it's day or night? He was not very happy with the whole thing. Then he meets Sri Ramakrishna at the theater. He's polite, but gradually it's not happening instantly. That at some point, this Girish starts to recognize who Sri Ramakrishna is, and his faith starts to grow. And then he receives so much grace from Sri Ramakrishna, and how Sri Ramakrishna is so liberal with regard to him. Others are furious. He'll show up in Dakshineswar drunk to the point where he can hardly stand up, and will sometimes abuse Sri Ramakrishna horribly in that drunken state. And Sri Ramakrishna, he would just take it. We had that one instance where he abused him so much that Girish left, and Thakur knew Girish will feel horrible when he thinks what he's done. So Thakur himself goes there to see it, Girish, to placate. Yeah, don't feel bad. I understood you were drunk. It's okay. So Girish said, if he hadn't done that, I would have thought he's a great soul. But only God himself will have that ability to come after being abused so much and to come without any animosity, anything like that. So they had a very special relationship, Girish and Sri Ramakrishna, as all of them did, really. So now he's trying to tell Girish, don't think that it was just me, that you had to have this within you. Take the case of a patient. Nature has almost cured him when the physician prescribes a herb and asks him to drink its juice. After taking the medicine, he is completely cured. Now, is the patient cured by the medicine or does he get well by himself? Who can tell? So this is always the case when there are different factors and different possible explanations for things that happen. How to decide which one was the really effective cause, which one was the one that was necessary in order for the change to take place. Now he'll give the example of love and kusha. He gives this example a few different times in the gospel. Lakshmana said to Lava and Kusha, Lava and Kusha were Sri Rama's two sons. They were not very happy with their father because of the treatment of Sita. They were almost, we could say, enemies at some point. So this Lakshmana is trying to say how wonderful your father was. Don't think he was such a horrible person. So Lakshmana said to Lava and Kusha, you are mere children. You don't know Rama's power. At the touch of his feet, Ahilya, who had been turned into a stone, got back her human form. Now there's a story about this. We read this in the footnote. A beautiful and devoted wife of a great sage named Gautama. Indra, the king of heaven, infatuated with her beauty, seduced her, impersonating her husband. Now, remember, these gods and goddesses and everything, this was a type of Vedic mythology, very similar to Greek mythology. All these Greek gods, they would also drink and have fun and do all sorts of things. So we read in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that the Devas, if they suffered from anything, it was kama, it was from lust. Why, we don't know. Not very important, but this is to understand the story. Indra, the king of heaven, infatuated with her beauty, seduced her, impersonating her husband. The sage, coming to know of this, cursed her and turned her into a stone. But he said, later he found out what really happened, and he couldn't blame her anymore. She thought it was me, so how can I blame her? But he said that the touch of Rama's feet would restore her human form. That means to wait for another yuga. Indra too received his share of the curse, as a result of which he had 1,000 eruptions on his body. Hence he is known as the thousand-eyed god. So this is the story of Ahilya. So this Lakshmana is telling Lava and Kusha. At the touch of his feet, Ahilya, who had been turned into a stone, got back her human form. Now the Lava and Kusha are very clever. Lava and Kusha said, revered sir, we know that. We've heard the story. The stone became Ahilya because of the power of the holy man's words. The sage Gautama said to her, in the Treta Yuga, Rama will pass this hermitage. You will become a human being again at the touch of his feet. Now, who can tell whether the miracle happened in order that the sage's words should be fulfilled or on account of Rama's holiness? So these things always come up. Something happens. Was it mother's will or was it karma? Then we go exactly back to this. Who can say? Which one of us? Swami Turiyananda, he gives a very interesting example. If you take scissors has two blades. If you cut a piece of paper, he says, who can say which of the two blades is cutting the paper? A very interesting illustration. So this is the point that we have different ways of understanding it. Was it Girish's good tendencies, or was it Thakur's touch? Or is it a combination? Is it mother's will? Is it karma? Is it predestination? We have all different ways of explaining things, and yet we can't say definitively which one it was. We'll all have our own ideas. We'll have our conviction and our faith, but if we're very logical people, we have to say, now who can tell whether the miracle happened in order that the sage's word should be fulfilled, or on account of Rama's holiness? So that means they still held some grudge against their father and not yet willing to praise him that way. Everything happens by the will of God. Now, what about karma? Huh? Everything happens due to our karma. Now, how do we reconcile these two? Sometimes the Thakur will say that if we say will of God, we say plan of God. We make a little switch. Huh? What is this plan of God? We receive according to our actions, this idea of karma. There's one nice conversation where Thakur is talking about everything is the will of mother, that mother is Ichamai, that I speak as she makes me speak. So there's one devotee, he says, yes, I do as mother makes me do. And he's not a very holy person, like Duryodhana. He's talking like that. So Thakur makes what seems like a very out of context and non sequitur. He says, but if you eat chilies, won't your tongue burn? Now, what's the connection between the two? He's saying, I do as mother makes me do. And then Thakur says, so what Thakur is saying, don't blame Divine Mother for all these things that you're doing, that this is a result of your samskaras and karma. There's cause and effect behind all of these things also. So we can say this is the divine will that we receive as we do. Others will emphasize the other side. Everything is mother's will. Don't talk to me about karma. Then others will say it's all karma. Why bring in God's will with all of this? So who can say this? So it means it becomes more of a spiritual attitude, we can say. Sometimes people write things, I never look at it. Okay. Girish smiling. Did you say by the will of God? What I am saying is the very same thing, all that. Now Girish is giving a third thing. It's not divine will. It's not my old samskaras. It's your touch. He's saying, you're saying the divine will. I'm saying your touch is the same. That Girish has this conviction that Sri Ramakrishna, God himself in human form, Divine Mother herself in human form. So if it's your touch, it's the same thing as the will of Mother, divine will. So Girish smiling. Did you say by the will of God? What I am saying is the very same thing. Then everybody laughs. So Girish was very intelligent, extremely intelligent. And he could use this intellect to draw these very interesting conclusions. And Thakur appreciated it, of course. Master to Girish. By being guileless, one can speedily realize God. This is another one of the most important teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. That what we read earlier, that this path of devotion is the easiest and most straightforward path. And the second thing is that if one is guileless and simple, if one holds to truthfulness, if one eliminates all deceitfulness in everything, that one can easily realize God. Then third thing we can say is this tremendous longing for God realization, vyakulata. His teachings can really be boiled down to a few very essential types of teachings. So here, because Girish, on one level, he is guileless. People who are not guileless will always try to project an image, special image of themselves. They won't want people to know what they're really thinking. Girish was very honest and open. He had no trouble. He seemed to enjoy telling everybody how sinful he was and all the things that he had done. So by being guileless, one can speedily realize God. There are several kinds of people who do not attain divine knowledge. This is another statement Thakur makes on several occasions. First, a man with a perverse mind, bankamon, crookedness of heart, that little deceitfulness, and dishonesty, and putting on a front. All of these things, the opposite of guilelessness, we can say. So this is number one. So first, a man with a perverse mind, he is not guileless. Second, one who is very fastidious about outer purity, shuchibai. Those who are always thinking that, oh, I touch this, I have to bathe in Ganges water, that this person looked at this, that this happened, and all bad omens and everything, and what will happen to me. So this shuchibai, we see this very much with one of Holy Mother's nieces, that she would constantly, anything would happen at all, constantly having to bathe in Ganges. Always felt that she'd become impure. And if she saw Holy Mother would come from morning to the bathroom and everything, and then go to the shrine. And she would, Mother, how can you do this? You have to go to Ganges again and take a bath. She would always complaining to Holy Mother like that. So this is the second thing. The third, a doubting person, samshayatma. Now, this doesn't mean that we should accept things, we should be fools. We accept whatever we read. This means somebody who's constantly questioning everything, someone who is skeptical to the point of being cynical, that whatever anybody says, they say is nonsense. They won't even. So this will be the opposite of Shraddha. Shraddha means that we have this attitude of humility with regard to things. I may not understand it. I don't dismiss it as nonsense. That I have an open mind. I want to learn. So this idea of Shraddha. So these are three things. First, one with a perverse mind who is not guileless. Second, one is very fastidious about outer purity. And third, a doubting or skeptical person. Sri Ramakrishna spoke highly of Nitya Gopal's ecstasy. Yeah, we saw last week another strange character, that how Thakur praises him so much and at the same time feels that he reached this high state without doing the really preliminary type of work, and how at the end he also doesn't come very much, that Thakur says he really doesn't belong to this place, and yet he came so often. He was related to Ram, he stayed in Ram's house, they would come together, he was very friendly with our Swami Shivananda, Tarok, that he also lived there, and Thakur said he's in the state of the paramahamsa, and yet at the end he kind of drifts away a little bit. 3 or 4 devotees stood near Sri Ramakrishna on the veranda and listened to his words about the exalted state of the paramahamsa. The master said, the paramahamsa, it has 2 meanings. One, a sannyasin who doesn't follow any particular tradition, who's perfectly free, doesn't even have to wear the Gerawa cloth, doesn't have to follow any special rules, carrying the staff or getting rid of this, and none of those things, perfectly free, and also perfectly God-realized. It's someone who's beyond all of these questions of pure and impure and everything else. And he used to say this Nitya Gopal was in that state of the Paramahamsa, very high state. Anyhow, the master said, a Paramahamsa is always conscious that God alone is real and all else is illusory. Now, the terminology here is bostu and abostu. So, for some reason, the translation always comes out illusory, but there are many different shades of meaning to these things. Avastu means really insubstantial. There's nothing to hold on to. This world is hollow somehow. It won't be able to give us what we need, what we really seek out of life. So this type of idea, of course, for some jnanis, it'll be just really like a mirage. But for Thakur, it was always this idea, usually anitya, this idea of fleeting, transitory, nothing that you can grab onto or hold on to, like this river of time flowing. So a paramahamsa is always conscious that God alone is real and all else illusory. Only the swan has the power to separate milk from a mixture of milk and water. The swan's tongue secretes an acid that separates the milk from the mixture. The Paramahamsa also possesses such a juice. It is his ecstatic love for God. Now, the Paramahamsa very often is looked upon as a jnani, but here he can be also a lover of God. And this ability to separate, it's separating that which is permanent from that which is impermanent, that which is uh, of the ultimate value in life and that which is completely secondary, that which is good for us, that which is not good for us. This Shreyas and Prayas, all of these different pairs of opposites that uh, will dictate to us what type of life that we lead. The most important pairs of opposites that we read about in the Kathopanishad are Shreyas and Prayas. To be able to know uh, what will be of some temporary type of enjoyment and to give us some type of temporary pleasure, but in the long run will prove to be unsatisfactory. It may lead to some very negative things, it may not. It may just lead to some type of emptiness, or it may just give us the feeling that, well, we didn't really get anything permanent out of it. It was enjoyable, fine, it's okay. But we missed out. That we missed out on this opportunity to uh, catch hold of that one thing which is ultimately real, which can ultimately uh, make this life blessed. So it's not such a philosophical distinction, Shreyas and Prayas. A very practical type of distinction that how do we prioritize our life? What do we give the greatest importance to? What do we give the most time to? What do we give the greatest effort to? What do we feel that at the end of this life will be able to will determine whether we feel that we wasted our time or that we did what was needful in this lifetime? The Swami Turiyananji, again, he made a great statement at the end of his life. I feel that I've done in this life what one is to do in this lifetime. Now, for him, it means he realized the highest. For us, it can mean at least we spent this life striving for it. That we, at the end of the life, we won't say that I wasted my time because I didn't have the vision of God. We'll say, no, I did what I was meant to do in this lifetime. That no one is promised that they'll have the highest realization. That just it's not like a fish salesman. You give the price and you pay some money and you'll get your fish. It doesn't work like that. This God's grace, we don't know. This karma, we don't know. But if we lead a sincere life and we try our best for this, we can't ask for anything more than that. We should have that contentment at the end of life. So this is also part of this separating the milk from the water, knowing what's of essential value, the chaff from the wheat. There's both part of the kernel, but only one is you can give us nourishment, and the other has to be discarded. So this is the paramahamsa. That separates the real from the mixture of the real and the unreal. Through it, one becomes aware of God and sees Him. Okay, so this is the end of the day. So we can stop here. We're on page 699. We'll begin here next time, and it'll be a few days later, Wednesday, February 25th. So the towards the bottom of page 699. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhathuradavigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamedhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Sirasa Namama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto all. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend. We will see you next time.